We've been live for a minute and 44 seconds. Hello, everybody. I did not realize we were live. I was getting things set up, getting ready to go live, and here we are. My apologies, but that's what happens when things are live again. Thanks for clicking on. Chris joins at 9 p.m. Eastern. So at the top of the hour, wherever you may be, Chris will be joining us, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff going on in Gaza. And in the meantime, hello. Let me hop over here to the chat. As I said, I wasn't aware that I guess I accidentally hit the go online button, and here we are. And let me get the link up here for Chris. Hello, Jamaica. Christmas Eve. No, one of the things I was doing was changing the title. The Christmas Eve extravaganza was indeed Christmas Eve, and you can go back and watch that if you wish. Simone Rob, thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here. And we are only on YouTube, the only place we're live at the moment. So if you want to hop in the chat, go ahead and feel free to do so. We're going to be on the other platforms on delay. And let's start out with what's going on headline wise. Again, Chris joins at 9, and we start out with Newsweek. Republican official Representative Tim Walberg, a Republican from Michigan, is getting some backlash for praising a plan to kill the gay people. Brazilian foreign minister on Putin's arrest during visit, quote, I don't think it's possible. I also hope not, end quote. Of course, Putin is heading to Brazil, kind of shore up, if you will, the BRICS revolution. And speaking of the BRICS revolution, a B is for Brazil, R is for the I is for India, China is the C, South Africa is the S, and the BRICS alignment, if you will, the BRICS allegiance is primarily set up as a countermeasure to NATO and primarily as a means to counter the United States economically. And the United Arab Emirates will officially become part of BRICS, of that alliance, January 1st at the beginning of the year. And ahead of that, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, and China have announced a mega trade shift. China is going to be buying their oil, not using the US dollar. And India tried to do that as well. Russia wants to topple the dollar dominance, but it isn't even able to deliver oil to India with alternative currencies. India wanted to get off of the dollar as far as the major currency, petro. We discussed that one night on here, petrodollars and the importance and how it could lead to a devaluation of our American dollar, how it will lead to a devaluation. But anyway, Russia and India were unable to come up with a solution. India wanted Russia to buy it in rupees, the native currency of India, and thus far they have not been able to come to an agreement. We got about 6 minutes before Chris comes on. This comes from the Western Journal, and Pentagon scientists consider creating, quote, pharmacy-enhanced, end quote, cybernetic, quote, super soldiers, end quote. We're going to talk to Chris. This is one of the things we're going to talk to Chris about when he gets back on here. And keeping it here in the United States, the state of Texas has basically set their own travel guidelines as who can come into Texas and who can't. The American Civil Liberties Union has issued a travel warning about visiting Texas, and the travel advisory from the ACLU warns people in Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, basically all the states that kind of surround Texas. There's an increased risk of civil and constitutional rights violations in Texas. So the ACLU is telling all the people in the surrounding states that there's an increased risk of civil and constitutional right violations in Texas. ACLU says it's because of the state immigration bill that was recently signed into law. So even if you are a citizen of the United States and you appear like you might not be, according to Texans, this is what the ACLU is telling people. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying what they're telling people are, if you don't look like, it just popped into my mind the movie trailer that we haven't watched the whole trailer, but I played part of the trailer. It's for a movie coming out at the end of March called Civil War. And one of the only thing we have played is that the guy with the gun asks, and the guy without the gun says, "It's okay, we're Americans." And the guy said, "Yeah, but what kind of Americans?" All right. That is what the ACLU is kind of warning people about in the surrounding states, that even though you are a citizen, when you go into Texas, that may not stop them from possibly violating your civil rights or your constitutional rights. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Israel says it's going to block the United Nations visa requests. So we are heading towards an isolation of, probably, when it's all said and done, Israel, the United States, and Great Britain. I don't think Canada is going to be going to the end, going to the mattresses, if you will, to use the mafia term, with Israel, like the United States and Great Britain probably will. Iran has released videos of Netanyahu's assassination. And these are obviously Netanyahu, well, not obviously, but for those that don't know, Netanyahu has not been assassinated. These are propaganda videos of the hopes of Iran and the plans of Iran. This came out yesterday, an animated video depicting the assassination of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu amid the tension surrounding the death of an Iranian military official. Monday, a state-run Iranian news outlet reported that Saeed Raz Mousavi, senior advisor for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps in Syria, had been killed near the capital city of Damascus in an airstrike. He has been described as one of the longest tenured Iranian Republican Guard officials in Syria and the chief coordinator of Iran's military alliance. Death later corroborated by a number of sources, including reports from Reuters. So this was a close associate of Soleimani, the Iranian general that was taken out when Donald Trump was president. You've heard him talk on that several times. Again, this comes from Newsweek. Iran releases video of Netanyahu's assassination, and that is a possible precursor to Iranian actions based upon their threats anyway. And speaking of their threats, Iran's latest threat on Israel, an arsenal of nuclear weapons. Again, this is things we're going to touch base with Chris on. Um, it comes from. Oh, I'm sorry. Bang the microphone there. It comes from the Jerusalem Post, and according to the Post, a report leaked by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, yesterday revealed that Iran has again sped up or tripled its pace of 60% nuclear uranium enrichment, at least as of late November. The reality places before Israel and the West, basically us, a challenge more ominous than anything out of Gaza or Lebanon. Um, the threat is no longer just one nuclear weapon, but rather a potential arsenal of them. Those that watch the show on a regular basis, of course, blessings upon you. Thank you so much for sharing your time. Thank all of you for clicking on. But those that watch the show know that I announced a few months back that Iran came out and said they had one. They had a specific weapon for Israel when the time was right. And now we're learning that it may not just be one nuclear weapon, but rather a potential arsenal. And I'm going to share this just for a second. Um, this was from October the 9th of this year. This was 2 days after the October 7th attack. And I went back and listened to some of it earlier, and what we were saying, then is relevant and might have been a little prophetic in ways. A couple of things. Iran has threatened Israel with a second Al-Aqsa flood. This came in just a couple of hours ago. The Al-Aqsa flood was the attack on October 7th, and Iran has now threatened Israel with a second Al-Aqsa flood. Al-Aqsa, of course, the mosque in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, adjacent to the Dome of the Rock. And yesterday, U.S. shot down 12 drones, 3 missiles, and I believe, a surface-to-air rocket as well. And also yesterday, Hezbollah, and I don't know if the mainstream's talking about this. I haven't heard it, if they were seen it, if they have. But Hezbollah attacked a monastery, a Christian monastery in northern Israel yesterday. Hezbollah, of course, out of Lebanon. So we've got Israel and Gaza in the south. We've got Israel and Hamas in Gaza in the south. We've got Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Israel in the north. And according to what Iran is threatening, a second flood possibly coming in through the Golan Heights, through the Syrian and Iraqi area that is to the north and eastern part of Israel. And we'll talk with Chris about all of those. Let me hop over here and see. He is here. Okay, I didn't hear him click on. Chris, how are you?
Pretty good, Barry. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, man. Thank you for asking. I didn't move along to what I wanted to get to. Okay. Let's start with this. Let's start with, hold on. Am I not sharing the right one? No. Daggone it. Why is this not sharing? There we go. All right. My bad. Sorry, I'm producing and trying to run everything. This is from the Jimmy Dore show. You pointed me towards this. Israeli company advertises Gaza beachfront property, and the actual clip says, "quote Cashing in on genocide," end quote. Israeli firm pitches beachfront real estate in leveled Gaza, and I mentioned, you and I were on and started doing this like 3 times a week shortly after October 7th. And one of the first things was, um, this is a plan to eliminate the Palestinians and for Israel to claim that land for the mineral and the property values. And it appears like we were pretty much spot on. What do you think?
Yeah, to me, it was pretty obvious. Okay, if you know anything about counterterrorism, but I mean, I know most people don't. So,
Right.
so for me, because I work in the field, and I saw that the attack and what Israel said compared to what I know, from training and experience, and then from what Egypt told them, and I'm just like, there's no way in the world that this could have happened, without Israel even knowing about it. I mean, Israel said they didn't know anything about it, which is no, that's complete malarkey. That's all BS, right?
Yeah.
So,
It
but
sure seems like it.
right. So, I mean, we've told your audience time and time again, it's never about people or religion, but it's always about resources and land. And I pointed this out to your audience some time ago that whoever controls the land controls the resources. And if you control the resources on that land, you can exploit whatever resources are on that land or underneath the land, you see. And in this case, once again, it's gas and oil, right?
Hmm.
And so we can go back to um, Mali, right? We can go to Somalia. We can take a look what's going on in Guyana with in Venezuela, right? Those are three different countries, and everything revolved around, like right now in Guyana is the oil, right? And we see Venezuela's gonna try to annex uh, Guyana to get that land to get to the oil, right?
Right.
So, and Somalia, I think I pointed out to your audience, we only helped um, Somalia for the simple fact of Somalia said, okay, well, we'll help you, we'll give you oil, right? Because that's something that's going to benefit us. But prior to, I think I told you about the one president that actually said, no, I don't want U.S. troops in here. And they had a re-election, and they voted him out, right? They voted
Hmm.
that guy out and voted the guy in that was pro United States. And here we go. You know, it's security for oil. We'll help train your security forces for oil, and we'll help you fight the terrorists for oil, right? So then we can go to Mali and with the French, and the French um, were there specifically for the natural resources. I think I told you when I was there in 19, the report came out. It was on television that the people in Kidal, which is still in Mali, were really upset and were raising a stink about what the French were doing. They were supposed to be there to fight the terrorists, but in fact, they were um, taking the natural resources, right? So, and then we can go to Iraq and Syria, and they sit there and say, yeah, we're there to prevent the resurgence of ISIS. But what's there? What's really there? It's the oil field, right? We're there to protect the oil. That's our money. You see, everything.
Chris,
Yep.
Chris, you mentioned ISIS. Talk to the viewers a little bit about what you and I know happened over this past week that the media did not report on, at least on a significant enough basis to make people aware of of um, a terrorist plot exposed and who was behind it.
Right. So the whole thing about that is ISIS actually was plotting to conduct terrorist attacks at a church in Germany, and I think was it Austria? Is that
Austria
what
and
it was?
Spain.
Yeah.
Austria and Spain.
Right. Right. So it was like Germany, Austria, and Spain. Right. But
Hmm.
it was thwarted by those security forces, right? So they actually had planned to hit the churches, okay? And the thing about it is the ISIS operatives they're from Tajik, they're from Afghanistan, and I was like this. I said, wait a second, they're from Afghanistan. I said they're ISIS. I said, yeah, that makes sense because remember we talked about the Black Flags of Khorasan,
Mm-hmm.
and the Black Flags of Khorasan, of course, comes from Afghanistan, right? So, but
Right.
furthermore, remember 2021, the whole Neo thing, the
Mm-hmm.
uh, the evacuation of the Afghans. Remember, those people were never vetted. Even though our government said they were vetted, they were never vetted, right? So I don't know if they came in. I don't know how they got over there, but somehow they got there. And the same people that are in the United States right now from that Neo are in our country right now, and they just might be ISIS sympathizers. So just something to think about. It's not just about the borders, right? It's also that. But see, people forgot about that.
Yeah, and we've been talking about leading up to the holiday season that the every all the lights were flashing that there was going to be something happening over the holidays terrorist wise here in the United States, and we've been pretty lucky so far that nothing has happened. And before I forget about it, we've got New Year's Eve coming up. I'm going to be doing a show, but of course there will be over 1 million people in one small location in Times Square, New York, on New Year's Eve, and I just I imagine there will be protesters there trying to disrupt it, and I could see that potentially turning into a nightmare for security.
Well, yeah, because I mean it's a soft target, but I think NYPD, I think they're good enough law enforcement agency to possibly prevent, the attack or if prevent
I'm
an
not
attack.
really talking about an attack. I'm just talking about a mass group of pro-Palestinian protesters showing up near the location,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
and because last night or Christmas night rather, and I've got let me pull it up here for the viewers, and again, thank you all for clicking on wherever you may be watching from. Um, but this was going on Christmas night downtown New York with um, it was elevated to a level 3 mobilization, numerous fights between pro-Palestinian protesters and uh, and New York City police. Um, and if 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 you watch enough movies, you can envision some evil mastermind saying, "Okay, the we use the Palestinian protesters as a diversion, and we get all the cops over there, and then we leave the target exposed, and we gas it, or we do some kind of bomb in a backpack." I
Yeah.
that's
So,
what I'm
so, so,
looking.
all right. So you're looking for a diversion. That's exactly what you're looking for is to divert the attention for one place to hit another. Got it.
Uh huh.
So, um, yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. So, but like I said, I think NYPD's their counterterrorism unit, they're actually really good. So,
I've
um,
got a niece. I've got a niece living in Manhattan,
uh-huh.
so I got skin in the game, if you will.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I think that makes you think a little bit differently at times.
Of course, it does. When you have family members, right,
Hmm.
that could possibly be affected, of course, it makes you think different, right? Because now it's going to affect you. But
Uh,
if it wasn't going to affect you, you probably wouldn't care,
as much,
right?
yeah. Protesters been taken into custody, currently being loaded onto an airport bus at the entrance JFK Airport. Uh, they shut down JFK today in New York. They shut down LAX in Los Angeles today as well. SWAT was called in there, and they shut down O'Hare in Chicago Christmas Eve. They
Hmm.
being the Palestinian protesters, and that's why I'm saying I don't think they can. I don't think they could not try to disrupt the New Year's Eve celebrations the way they
Right.
disrupted, because they disrupted New York's Christmas celebrations pretty effectively.
Yeah. So we'll
And
just wait and see what happens with that. We really will.
yeah, yeah, and hope nothing happens.
Right. Right.
Um, okay, all right. Let me get back to here. All right. Um, again, Gaza. The idea. It's the more pieces that are put together, the more it comes into view, hopefully to more and more people, that Israel is actually trying to um, get rid of the Palestinians one way or the other, to claim Gaza, and one would assume they would probably do the same to the West Bank,
Yeah.
or do they have the West Bank isolated enough that they
No.
could just they need to
No.
get rid of the Palestinians there too?
Exactly. And the whole thing about it is because there's gas reserves uh,
Yeah, natural
there.
gas.
Right.
Yeah,
So they're gonna claim it all for themselves. So like I said, whoever has control of that land also ultimately has control over the resources.
right. Um, the Pentagon. This is a headline I brought up earlier. Pentagon scientists consider creating a pharmaceutically enhanced cybernetic super soldier. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts when you hear that?
I heard about that like over a year ago though. So that's obviously in the works if it's not really already complete. See,
Yeah, I don't
that,
think they tell us about it unless they'd already done a couple of them, and one of them went bad or went rogue or something. So they were,
right,
we at least. I mean, they're not going to make a big deal about it, but they're going to put it out there that, hey, we're thinking about this, which means they've probably already done it, as
exactly.
the way our
So
government works.
exactly.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure. Okay, now also the International Atomic Energy Agency yesterday revealed that Iran could have an arsenal of nuclear weapons.
I think they just might be saying that um, because Iran has denied them access, you know, to that facility or facilities. It's just when you get denied something, they come, oh, they have this, and this, and a lot of times they're just talking out of the side of their neck. They don't know, you
Okay,
know.
that's
Um,
why I brought it to you.
yeah,
The military, and because when I heard it, I thought, well, that's a game changer, because nothing has been confirmed that they have any, other than I read into an announcement that they made about they had a special weapon, Israel, and I don't know how they do that without destroying the Dome of the Rock, unless they just take out Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem is
Jerusalem's almost like 2 hours away, or not, maybe an hour and a half away. So
so they could take out Tel Aviv with a nuclear strike,
uh,
and not have a massive impact, or a potential devastating impact to Jerusalem if it was done right.
right, right, depending on how big, what type of nuke they're going to use.
Interesting. All right. Um, I got a couple of other things here in the X Files that I wanted to touch base with you on. Um, and I just want to I want to show you. I want to show everybody when we Chris. I caught a lot of heat when we first talked about the fact that Israel wants to get rid of the Palestinians. They want to take over the land. that was before other people were talking about it, and I caught a
Uh,
lot of heat over us talking about it, and um, and we'll catch some heat now from talking about it still, about, oh, that's got to be fake news. Israel's not selling the Gazan property. Israel's already sold the oil rights. We know that. So, um, be that as it may, this this supposedly is footage of now this one, it says in the Sinai, but there's one in the Sinai allegedly, and this one is in Jordan, and it is set up for the Palestinians, and it sure looks a lot like what we would call a FEMA camp here in the United States. Let me get this into a whoa. Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. Apologies. Um, let's run back. Okay. Okay, here we go. Coming up on it. And again, this one's in Jordan, but supposedly one has been set up in the Sinai. I'm gonna contact one of my contacts that does the satellite imagery stuff,
yeah.
and see if they can locate one in the Sinai indeed. But it looks like they're going to try to displace, if you will,
Hmm.
the Palestinians. Is that, are we reading that right?
So that'd be internally displaced uh, persons camp. You know, that's pretty much it's a refugee camp. That's what
Yeah,
we use for internally displaced people, right? Um, due to violence or whatever. So that's what Israel is trying to do, and like I think we already said what their end state was. Their was really to take over Gaza and the West Bank. I think we like really hammered that home.
yeah, we tried to anyway.
Yeah, I think we really hammered that home. I don't think people really understood, what was going on. But like I said, if you understood Zionist ideology, but then now adding into the fact that there's, like trillions of dollars of oil and gas reserves in Gaza, off the coast and in the West Bank. And if we know that economics controls all, well, then it makes complete sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
Yeah. So for all the
Absolutely,
money, for all the money, right?
yeah. And I want to end with I want to end with this from American Woman on
Uh,
Twitter. Um, Earth's population is approximately 7.8 billion people. And
uh,
for most people, that's a large number. And that's all it is. It's just, you can't imagine that many people. Um, but if you watch some videos from some cities, you can see how there are an overabundance of people potentially on the earth. With that being said, if you just look at it as 100% of humanity, from 100% of the people, 11% are in Europe,
hmm
5% in North America, 9% in South America, 15% in Africa, and 60% in Asia. 49% live in villages, 51% live in cities. 12% speak Chinese, 5% Spanish, 5 English, 3 Arabic, 3 Hindi, 3 Bengali, 3 Portuguese, 2 Russian, 2 Japanese, and 62% of the world has its own language. 77% have housing, 23% have nowhere to live. That's out of 100% of humanity. 21% of people in excess. 63 people can eat as much as they want. 15% of the people are malnourished, and the daily cost of living for 48% of people is less than $2. 87% of people have clean drinking water.
Yeah.
13% either do not have clean drinking water or have access to a contaminated water source. I'm going to pause here for just a second. How vulnerable is our water system in the United States, and how significant is, I mean, I hope people can see how significant it is to have clean water, and that 13% of the world doesn't have that basic that basic thing that is required to sustain life.
Right. So, could you imagine someone like were to attempt to poison our water systems? What it would do to the population?
Yeah, because you wouldn't have to poison them all. All you got to do is poison one or two, and
Right.
then everybody else is suspect of their own water systems. Correct?
Right. That's correct.
All
That's
right,
correct.
and it could be done pretty easily, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's not difficult to do.
All right, 75% people have mobile phones. 25 not. 30% have internet access. 70% of the world does not have internet access. Something we take for granted. Um, I didn't imagine it to be that big of a percentage. 7% of the world has received higher studies education. 93% of people never went to college or university. 83% can read. 17% are illiterate. 33% Christian. 22% Muslim. 14 Hindi. 7 Buddhist. 12 other religions, and 12% have no religious beliefs. Now, 26% of the world's population live for less than 14 years. 66% have died between the ages of 15 and 64. 8% of the people on Earth are over 65. So this is what they've gotten out of it, and I'm going to have you give your comments here to kind of wrap it up. If you have a place to stay, if you eat healthy food and drink clean water, if you have a mobile phone, if you can travel on the internet, you graduated from a college or a university, you're actually in a small privileged group, a category of less than 7%. And out of 100% of the world's people, only 8% can live to 65 years or older. If you're over 65, be content and grateful. Seize life, seize the moment. You didn't leave this world before you turned 65, like 92% of people who have died because of health.
Yeah.
Cherish every moment you've left. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So going back to the college degree thing,
Yeah.
you said what percentage of that of the people actually have college degrees?
Um, Let me find it. 7%.
That's a very small percentage of people that actually have college. That's very low here in the United States. So not to say that um, we're not very educated, right? Because you can have all the degrees in the world, you can still be an idiot. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't put a whole lot of stock into that college degree stuff. And by the way, I do have a bachelor of arts, but even with that, I know there are a whole bunch of idiots out there that have degrees, and they're in
And there are a
like
whole bunch of smart people that don't.
exactly right. So
Yeah.
and then also the people that live over 65, you know, if you take care of yourself, I mean, not to say that things aren't going to happen, right? But if you take care of yourself, um, and exercise and try to eat right, you can do 65. Okay,
Yeah,
you can do
absolutely.
that. So, I think in our country, um, our eating habits are so bad. They're really piss poor. So people are, of course, going to die sooner than 65 because, one, in this country, we don't take care of ourselves. We don't exercise the way that we should. Okay. We don't eat the
Mhm.
way that we should. Okay. Like when I'm in other countries, like when I was in Nigeria, and that's like the healthiest you're ever going to eat because all the food is organic. It's all natural. You see, when I'm in the South America, like in Colombia or Brazil, or if I'm in the Caribbean, like the Dominican Republic, that's the healthiest you're really going to eat. You come here, United States, you eat this stuff, yeah, of course you're going to die sooner because the food here in the United States is garbage. So um, the way that we eat, our diets determine a lot. Okay. Um, the way we exercise or don't exercise is going to determine a lot as well. You see, so you have to factor all that stuff in, and diseases as well. But the thing about it is if you do your best to live a healthy lifestyle, okay,
Yeah, you got the key is dancing. You got to be able to dance, you got to be able to have fun. You got to
right,
be able to not you got to be able to not think old, you
right,
know? You
right,
you
but but
I
but
mean, you got
then
to be smart. You're not, I can't go out and play football
right,
uh for the Chicago Bears, but I can still go out and jog down the road with my dog,
right,
you
right.
know?
But
So,
then,
yeah.
but yeah, but then also we take a look at the work rest ratio. A lot of people work more than they rest. Okay,
Mhm.
which is going to be also a contributing factor to how long we live. So you
And
have to
stress.
right. You know, you couple all that
Yeah,
stuff together, and that there you go, right?
yeah.
So oh,
You mentioned Nigeria,
uh-huh.
and on Christmas Day there were raids on 20 villages in Nigeria, and like 190 Christians were massacred by Muslims in Nigeria.
So what is true?
Um,
You know what streamers group that was?
I do not. I'll 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 find it. I don't have it. Let me see if I can find it real quick here on Twitter. Um, hang on. You anything we haven't touched on yet?
No, but I did screw up.
Since
I said Tel Aviv to Jerusalem was like an hour and a half. It's actually like an hour, but depending on traffic too. So without traffic, it's an hour. With traffic, it's about an hour and a half. But I get back on that whole Nigeria thing. You know what? Like, I want to say this: they teach the Christians to be so docile in Nigeria, okay, to where
yeah,
they're not going to fight back. You see what I'm saying? And due to religion, that plays a really big part in that. You see, um, unlike here in the United States, where the Christians are or can be rather violent. You see,
yes,
so
yes.
so
There,
so my whole thing is if the gospel is the same, is preached the same, why is one group docile and the other one violent, or has a higher propensity for violence and the other group is docile? Explain that to me. That I don't
that,
understand.
yeah, that'll take a panel of discussion and more time than we have tonight. But here's one of the reports. This one says over 150 fatalities, 300 people injured, 200 families forced to relocate, and it happened inside one of the Christian churches on Christmas when most Christians are indeed. Even the violent Christians still are, CME Christians. They're there for Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter,
Uh-huh.
CM and E. So if you're going to, and that's what ISIS was targeting, Christmas masses in Spain, Germany, and what was the other one? The
Of course,
Netherlands,
Spain, Germany, and was Spain, Germany, and was that
Belgium,
no Belgium? Was it or Austria?
Austria, or Belgium. One of the,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right. So we got New Year's Eve coming up. New York City police are, as you've said before, probably as good, if not the best in the world, prepared for multiple scenarios.
Well, they're good. They're probably the best in the United States when it comes to you know counterterrorism. That police department. But I don't know what all their capabilities are, but I'm pretty sure they're like the best in the United States when it comes to counterterrorism. And
Okay, so that's the obvious target, but there are other New Year's celebrations all around the
right,
country. Here
exactly.
in the United States, or here in Indiana, um, I they used to drop a race car slowly down the side of the building as you counted down to New Year's Eve, and that was a big deal downtown Indianapolis. I don't know if they, after COVID, if it still goes on or not, but there are other celebrations all around the country, and each and every one of those is a potential soft target.
Right, right. So if those police departments aren't you know uh, spun up on CT counterterrorism stuff, well, it's a little bit too late now. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
This is like for counterterrorism. This is the stuff that you need to be out in front of. You can't treat it as if you have to. You're going to respond to it. You have to be able to prevent attacks. That's what counterterrorism means. It means to thwart or prevent attacks of terrorism. That's that's what it's about. So,
Yeah,
um,
and the first thing in solving any problem is being aware there is a problem, and the soft targets are everywhere around the country, with football bowl games, with New Year's Eve day parades, um, or New Year's Day parades. I mean, let alone the New Year's Eve celebrations.
mhm,
Um, it, you know, we as a country are the most vulnerable on our holidays
of course, of course, of course. But I
because
mean,
we celebrate them so vigorously.
right? But not just on our holidays, but just every day. Things that we do every day because we're so lax here in the United States. You see, we're very laxed. So because of that, um, the bad guys know this because they study us, and they can actually, you know, plan an attack. And because like they can actually plan an attack pretty much whenever they want, really. You know, just as long as their trade craft is good, they're not going to get caught. You see, those guys that got caught over there in Germany, bad trade craft. I can tell you that right now. But if their trade craft is spot on with what they're doing, they can execute an attack without any problems.
Somebody used a cell phone they shouldn't have used. Somebody took the same path too many days in a row. Somebody did something that tipped somebody off that
Right,
led to, yeah,
right. So
yeah,
you know, um, like, why? But thank God they were stupid enough to do it, though. That's the thing.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely. All
but yeah,
right, man.
okay.
Anything to close out with?
Nah, I'm good to go. So
Happy New Year.
yeah, likewise. And for everyone in your audience, Happy New Year and be safe out there.
And we'll see you next Wednesday night, a week from tonight. So we'll see you next year.
That's for sure. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to you, my man.
Okay.
That's Chris. We are so happy uh, and fortunate to have him on with us to talk about what's going on around the world. And I thank each and every one of you for clicking on, for being with us, not only tonight, but throughout the year. And again, uh, it will probably be 10 p.m. Sunday, December 31st, New Year's Eve night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, and 7 Pacific. And we will start our New Year's Eve. And the concept is to go from midnight East Coast and beyond all the way through to midnight West Coast and celebrate New Year's Eve um, officially with everybody across the country. That's the plan. But as I've said, we're heading into 2024, and the vibes of uncertainty as we lead into 2024 are incredibly strong. So we're going to have a show of uncertainty. It's the New Year's Eve extravaganza, only it's uncertain what's actually going to happen. We'll play some games. I've got some stuff lined up. Uh, Lori Arnold is going to be with us as she was Christmas Eve. If you haven't seen that show, go back and check that out. And she'll be with us New Year's Eve. If you'd like to be with us, you can hop up on here, say hi, or ask a question, or play a game if you'd like. Um, it's going to, like I said, it's going to be kind of an unscripted night. We'll play some music. We'll try not to get thrown off the air as we have the past. This will be our fourth New Year's Eve show. So as we've been thrown off the past 3 years. Um, let's hope we'll try to make it through. All right. And so I'll be on Sunday night, 9 p.m. my time, or I'm sorry, 10 p.m. my time, 10 p.m. Eastern, and for New Year's Eve. And I will pop back on maybe for a walk and talk with Oakley if the weather's decent. We'll be walking regardless, but when it's not decent, I don't like to. I like to focus on her and getting out and back instead of focusing on the camera. Anyway, rambling. Um, Hope everyone had a blessed Christmas. And again, thank you so much for clicking on. Consider hitting that like button. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Chris will be back with us next Wednesday, and we'll talk about what's going on around the world. It is a dark world, so do try to be a light. And if I don't see you before, happy and blessed New Year's. May it be a joyous and prosperous 2024 for each and every one of you. And I thank you again for joining us. Love you all, like chocolate chip cookies. See you next